Welcome to the Real Estate Investing Podcast, where we help you unlock your potential freedom through land investing, real estate investing, and entrepreneurship. Hey everyone, this is episode 134 of the Real Estate Investing Podcast, discussing how sales and acquisitions is the key to your land flipping business. I'm your host, Dan Rapke, joined again by my brother and business partner, Ron Apke. Before we get into the show, let's go over a question from one of our featured Discord members. Today's question is from Seth. Seth asked, do you fund deals that have no well and no perk test?
Yeah, I mean, to answer your question in short, Seth, absolutely. That is 95, 97% of our deals. I never, and we were talking about this last night on the webinar, when a seller says there's a well, a septic, whatever it is,
It's baloney.
I rarely believe them. I will call the health department to try to confirm. Then the health department's going to say, like, yes, this was approved then. I'll go on Google Earth and I'll look back. I'm like, there hasn't been a house or a mobile home on here in 15 years. That septic system is going to need thousands of dollars of work, or it's just going to be unusable and need to be replaced. So yes, absolutely. And what we do is vacant land. We do vacant land, and that means generally no improvements. That's an improvement if it has a well or septic. And the county is generally gonna, if it was done properly through the county is gonna have some improvement value on that land because it has a well or septic. But yeah, to answer your question in short, absolutely. Like, we love funding those deals. That's the most common. If you have a working well or septic, I would love to fund that as well. What's
the improvement value they usually put on it? That's good to know for data tree on improvement value.
I don't know exactly, and that's gonna matter county to county. If so data tree, when you're pulling data, you're gonna be able to filter by improvement value. I usually go 0 to 3,000. And we'll get those back. So typically I think below then, but I don't know exactly.
Yeah. Cool. Well, let's get into the show. Today's topic, sales is the key to a successful land flipping business. Let's define sales first, because in this business, Ron, people think of sales as the for sale side and acquisitions as the acquisition side when you're actually getting the property under contract. For this episode, we're talking about acquisitions. So we're talking about anything before we buy it, leading up to how we got that purchase agreement for the sake of this. So we're just going to call it sales because more people think of it. This is a sales role, right? Acquisitions is a sales role. So that's how we're going to define it, Ron.
Yeah, it's more of a sales role than selling the land. I think selling the land is more like customer service almost, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Just answering questions.
Yeah, but you've been preaching this, Dan, so much with our business in general, with our members. So I think this is a really good topic for where we are. And it's the truth. Like, salesperson being on the phone, listening to a person, seeing what they want, trying to navigate that, being organized and organizing your leads, and then following up with them, setting these calls and times to meet with these people. That is what closes deals. And then we haven't even started talking about like when you actually have to negotiate. The negotiation aspect is huge with this. And I think you can double, triple, quadruple your business with a quality salesperson who's vetting all of your leads, not just vetting the ones that say, yes, I want to sell for this price, just take the land for whatever money. Those are not the valuable things with the salesperson. The valuable ones are the ones where they got to work for the deal.
Yeah, exactly. And let's get into that, Ron. Let's talk about the bad way of doing this, not taking this seriously, thinking you're sending a mailer out there if they want to sell. That's final. You're not going to follow up much. You're not being aggressive, not negotiating, not challenging the person, not digging deep into them, into their needs and wants. That's the bad way, and we see that a lot in the land space. People not taking this really seriously, and that's honestly the worst way to approach this business. You're going to lose a lot of sales if you just send your mailer or text out there and think there's no negotiating. It's all about the pricing. The pricing is everything. That's a horrible way to look at it.
Yeah, the pricing is one thing, and they're important. Both of them are important, but like getting them on the phone and gauging their motivation. And I think a lot of money is made in like the negotiation aspect, but I think, and you were really good at this when you were doing our sales, a huge amount of money, tens of thousands of dollars every month, I think is made from us, or a lot, whatever you want to say, from knowing when to stick to your number. Knowing when to not round up 7,000 to 10,000 and like, listen, like I understand you want $10,000. We have cash ready at 75. We're going to stick to our offer here. But if you're just going up to whatever number they want, just because the deal might make sense of that number, you don't want to do it. I'm not saying lose deals because they want $13,000 and you offered 11 and you think it's worth 30. That doesn't matter. You have $11,000 cash ready to go, and you got to let them know the value in that. Like, listen, I know you want 13, but I'm paying all the closing costs. I'm going to be all in for $13,000 after closing costs. That's $2,000 you just saved. You just made essentially by getting that deal.
Yeah, and that can make, a deal not happen or happen. If it's sell low 20s, Ron, and you get it for 11 versus 13 and you need deal funding and things like that, that's going to make or break your deal. You got to be aggressive on the phones, guys. You don't need to be overly pushy. Like, by aggression, I don't mean you need to be a car salesman trying to get them to close right there on the spot, but you need to be following up. You need to be aggressive. You need to feel people out. Like, a lot of it's instinct. Do these people, like, what do you hear in their voice? Like, what do they actually want? You can get a feel for them after doing this for a while, Ron. Yep. Do they actually want $11,000? Or are they going to sell at $8,000 and they're just trying to get a last minute $3,000? Mm-hmm. Hell, that's what I would do if I was calling. And you know what I mean? Like, if I had landed and someone offered me $8,000, I wanted 11, or I wanted to sell at 8, I'm still going to call and ask if I can get 11. Yeah. No reason not to. So understanding the value we provide, which leads me into our next topic. But before we get into that, guys, let's take a quick break. If you guys are getting value from this, and please like and subscribe our YouTube channel. It really helps spread and grow our mission, Ron. But let's get into that, Ron. I want to talk about what we see from our most successful members. So we talked about what not to do and what mindset not to have. But now let's talk about what we see from our most successful members.
Yeah, I'm going to actually bring up Janice's situation. Sorry, Janice, I'm not calling her out by any means, but what she did is, like, she was kind of, she got some PAs back and she was a little overpriced. And we just had a conversation with her. We told her, like, we can't fund this deal at $20,000. I think the land is good, essentially, is what we said, and it makes sense cheaper. And she was kind of questioning the whole getting funding and, like, if it's possible to get funding in this community. And she was a little hesitant to send more mail. And this is a spot a lot of people are in, and it just comes down to price at the end of the day. And Janice called the person back, and it was probably 20 minutes later. She's like, yeah, I understand. I appreciate you guys explaining this to me. And then it was probably 20 minutes later, she messaged us and she's like, yeah, I got it down to 13,000 from 20,000. Now that deal makes sense selling for $27,000, where before it didn't make sense unless that property could sell for $38,000 to $40,000. So the deal makes so much more sense. There's so much more money out there if you can just negotiate down. And I know Janice is going to be a successful member, and that's why I kind of brought her up. So yeah, that's what they do. That's what successful members do. They beat people down.
They're not scared. They're fearless. That's what I want to talk about. Like, they're okay getting on the phone, talking that person down. It sucks. No one's going to enjoy that unless, maybe a select few out there enjoy those calls. But majority of you aren't going to enjoy calling someone saying, we can't offer, I know we sent you a letter for $20,000, but now we can only offer $13,000. But you got to get comfortable with that. We have reasons to back that up. We found things in the property to back that up. We found things in the comps to back that up. Pricing, the more experience you get with pricing, the less that's going to happen. But especially at first, it's important getting comfortable with those deals, Ron, where you overpriced or underpriced. You can talk up, you can talk down. Talking down is always a lot harder, but I'm telling you guys right now, it works more than it doesn't. If you guys are confident on the phones, you will get these PAs back. If you offer $20,000, you need to go down to $13,000. Over 50% of the time, those deals will work out for you, I bet.
Especially when it's defected land and you priced correctly, you just overpriced for this defected land. We see ones all the time where we have members bring us deals or whatever, and like whatever, it's $60,000. I looked at it like, this is a little wet, whatever. I'm a little concerned about this, and then they come back a day later. They're like, yeah, I got this down to 40. And the thing that I love about what Janice did is, yeah, she got that for 13,000. There's no way she was fearless, because there's no way she shot them 13. She probably shot them 10 to get at 13 and let them win a little bit. But usually you want to shoot a little low than where you're willing to meet at. So if Janice's number was 15, the highest she was willing to go for that, she probably shot him 10 and then just played that hardball a little bit and met at 13, I guess.
Yeah, those are fun conversations. They are so valuable. Like, there are a number of people in the community, Ron, who probably, and I have no idea who these people are, but just knowing people who would have just thrown that deal away. Because it doesn't happen. We're not going to try negotiating with them where it's a done deal. Funders didn't want it. Yes. Funders didn't want it. Let's throw it away. Janice went and she got offensive. We call it offensive sales at our company, Ron. Yep. Get on the offense. Get your number out there. Be aggressive. Follow up on it and get the deal. Get the PA. And that's the thing, Ron. Like, these members who are doing this, going back and comfortable negotiating down or whatever the situation is, they understand the value we provide. Mm-hmm. That's what it comes back to. They don't think they're ripping some poor guy off for buying it for 50% of what it's worth, Ron, because they understand that cash is so valuable. You can get it to them in 10 days. It's extremely easy on them. It's like, yeah, go list with a realtor. If you need the money, you need the money now. Go list with a realtor. Try to find a realtor, get it listed, you know, vet the leads, go through title again, and then you're, 4 to 8 months down the road. If you need money, you need money. And they're really strong offers. You talk about 6, 8 months, $10,000 versus $20,000. If they need that $10,000 now, it doesn't matter what's going on in 4 months.
Yeah. And I think going back to the sales aspect, like that's what our most successful people see as well. They see the value in what we're doing. If you go into this, think you're like ripping someone off, which you're not. If you hire someone who like thinks this is whatever, ripping someone off, land is not a liquid asset. It's just not. The reality of it is a realtor is going to take 6 to 12 months to sell their land potentially, where we have an offer of cash where we can make their illiquid asset liquid within 2 to 3 weeks. And that's where you need to serve your sellers. Like you need to stick to your word with all of that. If there's something that comes up where it doesn't make the purchase doesn't make sense, you need to be quick with them and letting them know that situation. And again, that's what I see the most successful people doing, and that's what makes this business.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing I wanted to dig deep on, Ron, is our members actually dig deep on their leverage points, Ron. If the access is questionable, using those talking points to negotiating down. I understand why you want $100,000, but the access has me very concerned because X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
I cannot go up to $100,000, but what I did do, I talked to my partner, Ron, and we looked at this very thoroughly for almost 30 minutes, and we're willing to go up to $80,000 for you. That's the absolute most we can go over. The access has us very, very concerned, but we like you. We want to help you out, and we can get you your money in 10 business days.
Yeah, without a doubt. Like that's a huge thing, is understanding their pain points as a seller and also understanding what is going on with the land in general. So that is when you start doing your actual due diligence on the land. It's like when you start getting that negotiation process and you understand, like maybe you already had the purchase agreement and like you got to talk them down because X, Y, or Z. There's so many different reasons, and there's very little. We never like doing the pricing is very important, so you don't overprice good land.
Yeah.
You do not want to be overpriced on good land. And the way we teach things, like I rarely see it happen. There's always almost always something in terms of it's an HOA. There's restrictions on it. Like Daniel said, access, slope, wetlands, floodplain. There's a list of things that if you are overpriced for that, it's a lot easier to talk them down. That's a 75% success rate in negotiating down.
Yeah, you want to be priced right for B, B plus, A minus, A plus properties. Like that's what you want to be priced right for. And if you're overpriced on those, that means, your B minus, C plus, C properties that have a little bit of effectiveness. Maybe they're really sloped. Maybe, they're in questionable areas. But if you're overpriced on the great properties, you're going to be even more overpriced on those, which make it that's kind of how we look at it. Like, what are we getting the average land, the good land we actually want to acquire? That's what we want to be priced aggressively for. Next thing I wanted to get into was actually digging into rebuttals. We had someone last night on the call who brought this up, but just understanding why they're asking for what they're asking for, understanding why they want that $18,000. And last night on our Wednesday webinar, we had a member who offered $15,000 and the guy came back at $18,000. And just from a quick scroll on MapRite, and they might have seen this too, but just from a quick scroll on MapRite, they bought it in 1996 or 8 or something. It was in the 90s for $17,600. So I'm like, okay, that's not a coincidence. They're calling because they bought it for, they want to win a little bit. They're going to make $400 or they're going to break even. They don't want to, they have an emotional tie to that land. And you have to know that going in. They're tied to that land. They don't want to lose. Shit, if they brought it around it for $17,000 in 1996 and you're in a relatively decent area and you're buying it for anywhere around that, that's typically a great deal. That's a really good sign.
Yep, without a doubt. It's
that happens a lot.
Yeah, you see that a ton, and their mindset as a seller is like they understand the difficulties of selling in the normal sense. And they're like, they know it's worth more. They 100% know it's worth more if they're asking for $18,000 and they bought it for $17,600 27 years ago. They know it's worth more than $18,000, but they don't want to pick up the phone and call a realtor. They would love to sign your paper for $18,000, them get $18,000. To them, it's not like I'm making $400. To them, it's I'm getting $18,000 in my pocket because there's no mortgage attached to that land. They paid cash 27 years ago, they're getting $18,000 they can use now, opposed to waiting for a realtor to sell it or not sell it or talk. And you have to vet all of them. Like, we have the cash up front. And that's what you as salespeople need to use this stuff. Like, it's very, very important. You got to understand that. And knowing the history of land, I think is really important. I think that kind of goes into that.
Exactly. So just digging deep, figuring out what they want and why they want it. They'll usually tell you what they want. Oh, this guy wants $18,000. But ask him, why does he want $18,000? We could have scrolled on MapRite and figured that out, but ask more questions. Has he been to the land? How long has he owned it? To just start digging in, you'll start, filling in the puzzle in your head, and then you can use these things as negotiation. I do want to get into where's a good place, like where to start if someone's just not good at sales. And we have a lot of engineers in the group and, pilots and all these different people around that are coming in and they're just not salespeople. Maybe by experience or naturally, they just feel like they're not salespeople and they want to learn more about sales. So let's talk about a few options for that, Ron. The first one I want to talk about is if you don't want to put in the time to learn sales, leverage your money and outsource sales.
Yep.
Whether it's hiring part-time, hiring someone commission only a part-time, that's a really good place to start is just hire a salesperson. Like that's leveraging your money to something you're not great at or you don't like.
Yeah. And I don't think sales is there's a skill behind sales. Don't get me wrong, but it's also like how much do you want to deal? If you're not a salesperson, you're not a salesperson. It's uncomfortable. Like those conversations are uncomfortable, but it's how bad do you want to make this work? And you're willing to like deal with these uncomfortable conversations because you can make it work. You're probably not going to maximize it like A+ salesperson is going to do.
Right.
But you can make something work. You can be a B- salesperson even if you're not a natural born salesperson. You can get some deals without a doubt. But yeah, like Daniel said, it's hard, Dan. You got to have some kind of commission structure where our brother's a good scenario where he's paying someone based on the purchase price. So every deal that he buys, he's paying based on the purchase price, a percent. So I think that's a good deal to have where he has a really good salesperson working for him now. And he doesn't have to pay him anything on a weekly basis. It's when he closes on a deal, which in turn gets him equity. That is when he, I guess, has to pay him.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I was trying to think around like outsource. I meant to put outsource or partner. Like you can have a sales partner as well. If you have someone you trust and you want to partner with in the business who is really, really good at sales, you can also do some sort of partnership with them. We see a lot of that. And then they could just take the whole sales role off your hands and you take whatever role you want to or whatever you guys agree on, the pricing and the title and all that stuff. So partnering or outsourcing. But number two, so that's the number one way I'd recommend. Number two is, like Ron said, try to work on your sales skills. Take your D- skills and get them to a B. It's going to take a lot of work, experience, trial and error, but then you can also listen to your old calls, get a sales mentor. Like honestly, there's so many great salespeople out there in America, Ron. Like this economy is full of salespeople. Like get some sort of sales mentor, even if they don't know what you're doing. You don't need anyone in the land business. Just get a sales mentor, sit down, listen to your old calls, have them give you advice. A lot of it comes down to confidence, honestly, in sales, Ron, and just experience and just doing it over and over and over again and repetition. But get a mentor, educate yourself, work on it, get your D- skills to a B. Yep. It's not that hard. If you guys commit to it, you can get to it.
Yeah, it's repetition, guys. I think like I said, you're probably never going to be an A+ salesperson if you're not a natural salesperson, but you can definitely, like Daniel said, get it to a B or something like that. And it just takes repetition. It takes some education, reading, watching some YouTube videos. There's so much free education out there.
There's
on
a ton
sales.
of education, yeah.
Like you don't need to take an education course. You can talk to some salespeople, whatever it is, watch YouTube videos. There's so many free ways to educate yourself on that. But at the end of the day, like if you're too scared and you don't pick up the phone and dial back those people who were maybes or those people that you got to negotiate with, it's not going to do anything for you.
I agree. So those are a few ways: outsource or partner. Try to work on your sales skills. So developing them, use a mentor, just really working on them, listen to your old calls, developing them, and then really educate yourself on sales using free resources or paid resources. Really up to you. There are so many good sales training programs out there to run.
Yep, for sure. I don't have much more to add to that. I think I don't want to. I think we tend to do that, Dan, is kind of overemphasize some other parts of the business when sales is, in my opinion, the lifeblood of this business. Getting these leads back and making moves with them, not having cold feet, not dragging your feet is, I think, what makes a business like takes a business from $500,000 of profit to $2-3 million profit.
And you can still do a heck of a big volume of deals, Ron, without a salesperson or barely anyone asking the calls by sending enough volume out there. But this is taking advantage of your current leads, taking advantage of your mail already out there. All your leads coming in, let's take advantage of them. Let's double it, triple it, by taking some of those people who wouldn't have sold their property unless you sold them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So the key is just finding, finding out all the information to kind of summarize this, Ron, and understanding why the landowner wants what they want, and then kind of coming back and using our value as a business to sell.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. As always, thank you for joining. Please do us a huge favor and like and subscribe our YouTube channel and share this with a friend. It really means the world to Ron and I, but more importantly, it could help change the life of someone else. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you next episode.